Welcome to a world where the truth hides in the shadows and every family secret can turn love into betrayal. Today, you're about to witness a story that exposes hidden lies, raw emotions, and shocking betrayals that no one saw coming. Imagine a seemingly perfect home shattered by violence, a husband's secret affair erupting into chaos, and the people you trust most revealing their darkest sides. But amidst fear and heartbreak, courage can come from the most unexpected place. A tiny, fearless child who stands up to protect what's precious, rewriting a family's fate. Every twist of fate, every shocking revelation, and every act of defiance will grip your heart and leave you questioning who can really be trusted. If you crave true family drama, emotional intensity, and stories that reveal the raw, unfiltered truth behind betrayal, you're in the right place. So stay with us because this story will shock and inspire. The house had always seemed like a sanctuary, walls echoing laughter and warmth, a place where trust lived in every corner. But that illusion shattered in a single, violent moment. What was once whispered as affection turned into a dangerous secret festering behind closed doors. A husband, whose smile had been the axis of a family, harbored a betrayal so deep that it poisoned every memory that had ever felt safe. Nights that once hummed with comfort became tense and unpredictable, each step echoing suspicion and fear. The truth of the affair was not whispered, it exploded, carried on a wave of anger and cruelty that left a leg broken, a body betrayed, and a spirit trembling under the weight of what had been hidden for so long. The violence was not sudden, it had been brewing in subtle ways, a cold glance here, an unexplained absence there. Every secret message, every hidden call, every lie that had been dismissed as inconsequential now gleamed with deadly clarity. The betrayal was not just emotional, it was physical, a calculated eruption meant to remind that love had become a weapon. The walls that once protected now felt like cages containing the shock and disbelief that had nowhere to go. The world outside remained oblivious, unaware of the danger lurking within the home that had been painted as idyllic. And yet, in that chaos, something unexpected surfaced, a fierce clarity that cut through the fear. Every hidden truth that had once seemed like a dagger in the dark now became ammunition for survival, fueling a refusal to remain a victim. The contrast between the love once professed and the violence inflicted made every betrayal sting sharper, every secret resonate louder. A life once built on trust crumbled, revealing the grotesque shadow of deception and the shocking lengths one could go in the pursuit of selfish desire. When the dust of that violent storm settled, there was no turning back. The home had transformed into a battlefield, and every glance, every whispered secret, every lie uncovered carried the weight of a past that could no longer be ignored. The illusion of safety was gone, replaced with a raw, undeniable truth. Betrayal could be deadly, and the facade of a perfect life could crumble in a heartbeat. And in that shattering moment, it was clear that nothing would ever be the same again. Fear had rooted itself deep in the home, a heavy shadow that made every room feel smaller, every sound sharper. The betrayal had been violent, sudden, and terrifying, leaving helplessness hanging in the air like smoke. But amidst that suffocating dread, a tiny presence moved with a fearless determination no one expected. A child, barely 4, became the unlikely protector, stepping into the chaos with an instinct that seemed too sharp for such small hands. The innocence that had once meant vulnerability transformed into a force that cut through the tension, rewriting the rules of survival in a home fractured by deceit. Every gesture from that child carried urgency, a clear understanding that danger was real and waiting. While trust had been broken by a man who had hidden lies behind smiles, the child's courage was raw and untainted. The moment came when the violence erupted again, a familiar threat that had already left scars, both visible and hidden. But this time, intervention came from the smallest voice, a plea that rang with clarity, a movement that refused to cower. That tiny figure became a shield, a spark that lit a path through the darkness of betrayal, proving that loyalty and love could sometimes come from the least expected places. The shock of seeing such bravery from a child magnified every secret, every deceit that had been lurking in the corners of the home. The husband, whose anger had once seemed unstoppable, now faced the consequences of underestimating the bond between parent and child. Every hidden affair, every whispered lie, every violent impulse had led to this moment of exposure where courage and truth collided with deceit in ways that no one could ignore. It was a turning point that revealed the fragile yet unbreakable intensity of family ties. What had been a home of fear and manipulation became a stage for resilience, where a tiny protector stood unflinching against betrayal and violence. The past horrors could not be undone, but the presence of such fierce courage carved a new path forward, one that refused to be dictated by fear or betrayal. And in that instant, it became clear that the smallest hand could change the course of a life and redefine the power within a shattered home. The lies had been buried so carefully that no one could have imagined their weight until the storm arrived. One by one, the carefully constructed masks fell away, revealing a network of deception that had quietly poisoned every corner of the home. Texts, whispered conversations, and secret meetings, all once dismissed as minor oddities, now screamed the truth of a man's betrayal in the harshest light. Trust that had been the foundation of every day was shattered beyond repair, replaced with a cold, unsettling clarity that nothing was as it seemed. Every revelation carried its own sting. Friends who were confided in suddenly felt complicit in the lies. Financial secrets, manipulated memories, and excuses that had once been accepted now revealed a deliberate pattern of control and dishonesty. The husband who had seemed devoted, protective, and loving had orchestrated a hidden life built on selfish desire, each lie layering deeper than the last. It was as if every corner of the home hid a fragment of betrayal, waiting for the perfect moment to surface and explode into awareness. The devastation was not only emotional, but visceral. Every glance, every interaction now carried suspicion, a silent reminder of what had been hidden. What had been perceived as loyalty was a lie. What had been taken for granted as protection was manipulation. And in the silence that followed each revelation, the magnitude of the deception became unbearable, the scope of the betrayal impossible to ignore. Yet, in that chaos, a strange clarity emerged. Each hidden act of betrayal, once invisible, became a weapon for understanding, a lens to see who had truly been in control and who had been used. The storm of lies forced a confrontation with reality, harsh, undeniable, and transformative. It was no longer a question of what had been hidden, but how to navigate a life built on the ruins of trust, and how to respond to the man who had so casually dismantled what should have been sacred. When all the secrets finally surfaced, the truth was undeniable. The facade had crumbled, leaving only the raw, shocking exposure of betrayal and the clarity that nothing could ever return to the way it had been. And in that unflinching exposure, the power of truth became the only path forward. The aftermath of betrayal did not leave space for quiet grief. every twist of fate seemed to carve deeper into the heart, turning despair into a fuel that refused to be ignored. The husband's lies, the violence, the secrets, all had built a storm that threatened to consume everything. Yet, in the chaos, moments appeared that no one could have predicted. The child's courage, once tiny but fierce, became the anchor, showing that even the smallest presence could spark defiance and reclaim power in a world that had seemed dominated by lies. Confrontation was inevitable. The truth, laid bare in all its raw intensity, could no longer be ignored. Each argument, each exposure of deceit became a turning point, stripping away pretenses and forcing recognition of the damage inflicted. What had been a home of manipulation transformed into a stage where betrayal met accountability. Every revelation was a weapon, every act of courage a shield, and the once hidden fractures of trust became the very foundation for reclaiming dignity. Pain was constant, but it shifted. It became not just suffering, but insight, a lens to see the lengths to which deception had gone and the resilience it had awakened. The interplay of heartbreak and courage created an unbreakable rhythm where every shock, every betrayal, and every lie was met with calculated determination and unwavering resolve. The family's bond, tested to the extreme, revealed its extraordinary strength. It was not the absence of harm that defined them, but the way survival, love, and courage intertwined to create something unshakable. Vengeance was not blind. It was deliberate, measured, and born of necessity. Each confrontation with betrayal became a reclaiming of control. Each exposure of lies, a step toward rewriting the narrative that had been stolen. The husband, once the architect of fear, now faced the consequences of underestimating those he thought powerless. The dynamic had shifted entirely, and the home, though scarred, became a symbol of resilience rather than surrender. And when the storm finally quieted, the realization was undeniable. The past could not be erased, but the power to rise above it, to transform heartbreak into strength, belonged entirely to those who refused to be broken. Thank you for joining this journey through betrayal, courage, and unexpected twists of fate. If this story of shocking secrets, raw emotions, and unbreakable family bonds resonated with you, make sure to hit that like button. Share your thoughts in the comments because stories like these deserve to be felt and discussed. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a story that dives deep into hidden truths, heartbreak, and the courage that emerges when everything seems lost. Your support helps bring more real, gripping stories straight to this channel. And trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next. Stay strong, stay vigilant, and remember, even in betrayal, courage can shine brightest where you least expect it.